registered for the Parent Plus Summit, you're going to want to register ASAP. I am going to close registration because I'm being very intentional and thoughtful about everyone who is attending, making sure that I am preparing the space, preparing the speakers to invite you into our Zoom room. We're going to be talking about a host of different topics and really the thought behind parenting, thriving in parenting is that we don't want to keep parenting on autopilot. We don't want to parent from a place of survival mode. We want to make sure that we are thriving in parenting. And so Kelly Ramsey is going to talk to us. She's the CEO of Developing People. And as Kelly comes in the room, hey, Kelly.
Hey.
I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. So, hey, Millie. If you are watching, and if you're watching live, or even if you catch the replay, share this with a parent who you know is meant to thrive, who needs to let out a sigh of relief, build community, have resources. And Kelly, I will let you kick us off. Just who are you and what is your organization?
All right. So I'm so excited to be here. I'm Kelly Ramsey. I'm the CEO of Developing People Incorporated. We are located in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, but we do work all over the nation. And I am a partner with parents and a partner with educators so that they can reach their potential and reach their goals. So we help you discover, develop, and then launch whatever it is you're working on and do it with intention.
I love it. So Kelly and I have been working and doing some co-working. We both found that we had lines that intersected around helping parents understand their position and their power and their purpose as a parent. And what I love most about the space that we both have created is that I'm hearing feedback just a little bit. Kelly, I'm hearing my own voice. Can you hear it?
No.
Okay. Hopefully in the replay, you all don't hear this. You let me know if you're on Facebook or if you're on Instagram, if you hear any feedback, because I want to be able to leave this live up for those who can't catch it. But we are parents. So we are not sharing this information from something that we read in a book only, right? This is lived experiences. So Kelly, if you could just tell us, I know you told us who you are, what your organization is, but what brought you to this work of helping, specifically of helping parents thrive in parenting?
Okay. So I started in the early childhood field many, many years ago, straight out of high school, and I was a preschool teacher. And when I started teaching, I really was just focused on the children and quickly realized that children come from families and that I needed to support families and children and
Yes.
shifted my thinking. But my thinking really shifted when I became a parent myself. So I became a parent later in life at 40 and then again at 42. And so when that happened, I had a whole new respect for parenting and parents because parents were getting a bad rap, like from teachers. So we were like, bring me your kids, I'll take care of them, now go to work and do what you need to do. And so immediately I thought about parenting as a journey, and those that join us on that journey need to be supported, but they also need a place to talk about what real life stuff is happening and how to navigate it. And so that's really where my passion started. I wrote a book with NAUIC on families and educators together, addressing just how do you partner with parents. And that's where my journey began. And then my intentional parenting happened in my own parenting. So it is the story, like you said, of lived life experiences with my children who are now 16 and 14.
Wow. Okay, so can you break down? You said you wrote a book. I want you to break down the book. We don't have to go into detail, right? We want to give us some break down the book and the organization that you wrote for, because I don't know how many people may be familiar with or not realize that there is a familiarity with that organization.
Yes. So NAEYC is the National Association for the Education of Young Children, of which I am now the sitting vice president on the governing board. Excuse me. So when we started that work, it was the story of work that I was doing with the educator schools across the nation and in Oklahoma City specifically. And I wanted to partner with my two co authors to give a real picture of what it looks like to really partner with parents. And we use the NEUIC principles for how families and partnerships work. And so that's what we did to get started from the program. And what we learned very quickly is that schools were interested in the children and their progress, but they also didn't quite know how to partner with parents in the journey. And
Hmm.
so, working and using early Head Start models, we use that to partner with parents from infancy to 5 years old. And then I continued that work on my own through the school age years and beyond.
Yeah. I love that you started with the early childhood, and I think that that is a special piece of your expertise because oftentimes we think of setting our children up for success or like school success or college success. We think of, when they get in first grade, when they get
Yes.
in sixth grade, when they make it to high school. So for those who are watching and have early childhood um, aged children, like the 0 to 5, what is the importance of being intentional with these first 5 years of life?
Yes, great question. So, the first 5 years of life is when the brain is developing. So, it's the foundational time that children are growing and developing and making connections. So, we know from infancy, children are born with all of the connections in their brain that they need for a lifetime. But if they're not stimulated, then they begin to die off, and then learning is not optimal. And so when parents understand this, they start to engage with their parents and their children in a different way. So it's a time for what we call serve and return. So as a child is doing something, even in infancy, the parent is responding to what that looks like. And that also promotes their social and emotional health and their well being. And it also creates new connections for the child and the parent that they know they're going to be nurtured and taken care of, and then they begin to grow in phenomenal ways. And so that's why those early years are so important. And I would also say it's also important to let your child be who they are in those early years. They're telling you a little bit about who they're going to be. So pay attention because the journey is going to be a long journey. And if you can figure out how to support each other, that's the best.
Yes. Okay, so I want to go back because that is major what you just shared. The first 5 years are vital for making connections throughout life. And you said if those connections are not utilized or activated, they could die off. Did
Hmm.
y'all hear that?
Yes.
Like when we talk about so much potential in the early childhood years, that is literally what we're talking about. The amount of potential to learn language, the amount of potential to build healthy attachment and
Yes.
connections through relationship, the ability to did I already say language?
Yeah. It's that important twice.
It's that important, right? Language
Sure.
and then a second language or a third language. Like the greatest years to maximize learning capability and exposure and to learn and see who your child truly is as they develop is 0 through 5 years. And so I'm excited for the parents who are going to come. We're like, well, my child is only 2, or I'm pregnant, or I just had a baby. They're not in school yet because I feel like this is going to energize and excite them that you have a lot of ground that you can cover in this
Yes.
range of time from 0 to 5 years old. You can prepare your child not just for success in school, but success in life. So much brain
Yes.
development is happening that what you do with those first 5 years can really send them on a roadmap, if you will, or a trajectory to success. So, what are I'm going to put you on the spot. What are like two things that early childhood parents are doing um, that you could help us think differently about? I don't want to say, I would say misconceptions.
Misconceptions. Okay.
Yes,
So, one misconception is that they're too young and they don't understand and they can't learn yet. So, the reality of that is that in utero, when your baby is still in the womb, they're listening for your voice, they're hearing what you're saying through this muffled, sound, but they're hearing and responding. So, if you remember, if you're pregnant now, your baby is reacting to the sounds that are around them. And so if you're reading a story to them or you're reading to yourself, you're reading out loud, all of that is helping to build those connections as well. And the other piece is that they're also stimulated by we're stimulated by.
yes,
And so when we get excited about reading and literacy, our children will want to mimic that and they'll pretend that they're reading as well. And so they're learning in every
yes,
capacity for everything that we're doing, both the good and the bad. So we got to pay attention to our mood, our emotions. Are we just, not showing any emotions so our children don't know how to read those things?
yes,
All of those areas are developing. And I will give you, I'm a teacher by nature. So, two resources I would give you in those early years 0 to 3.org, which focuses on all of the early years, the research and data. They're a family friendly site, and so they have a family page. And also, the Harvard Center for the Developing Child is where you can learn more about that brain development and connections and social emotional development. So, those will be my two recommended resources.
Okay, so 0 to 3.org, because my little one is um, a 3-year-old. I'm very interested in that. Zero to
Yes.
three dot org, and then give us the other one, Kelly.
Harvard Center for the Developing Child.
Okay, I'm gonna put these in the chat so that those who are watching or catching the replay can also go back to that. Harvard Center for the Developing Child.
Yes.
So I think, I don't know. I feel like November and December I'm going to be sharing, squashing this phrase that there's no handbook for parenting. There's no manual for parenting, because in fact there are several. Oftentimes I consult the BIBLE for my parenting handbook and my guide, and experience with myself and my relationship with God. But I've written an ebook. You have written books. Everyone
Yes.
who's coming to the Parent Plus Summit actually has a handbook on parenting in their specific lane of expertise. So tell us about, why parents should investigate or be intentional in looking for and applying the resources that are available for
Yes.
parents.
So very important. One, you don't want to consume everything because it needs to align with your own personal values and what you
Right.
believe. So you want to be a critical thinker around what are the things that are going to feed me as I develop my child, because they're growing and developing in your house. You've been trusted by God to guide them through their life. So you're partnering with God and with your children for their development. So critically think about who speaks to your lifestyle and how you look. I was just recently thinking about, I was this morning in my downstairs office, which has our library in it, and I glanced up and thinking about today, excuse me, thinking about today, what books guided my thinking. And so on the shelf was Stephen Covey, Seven Habits for Highly Effective Families.
Yeah.
So I was introduced to him, excuse me, I was introduced to him as a student and as a leader with Seven Habits of Effective People. And then I learned that he had a book for families. So I started using that as a teaching tool to teach parenting classes before I became a parent. And then I also glanced up and I'm a creative, so I follow Julia Cameron, the artist life, and she has one for children. And so I looked on my shelf, the same things that were applying to me as a mom and as an individual were applying to my children because we were growing that. So our love for the library and reading and literacy, going to the library as an infant in the stroller, as a toddler, getting out of this is my youngest, getting out of the stroller and pulling all the videos off the shelf to put in his bag, putting them back. This was a pattern that we developed. And so, because of that, they had a love for reading and language and learning. And that's continued to nurture even now into their teenage years. But we cultivated that because we were going to the library, talking about books, having language. So find the resources that speak to where you are at that moment. Another thing we did is we would pick up books about gardening, and we had a home garden, and the boys helped to develop the ground and the dirt, and they ate the food because they helped to grow it, right? And so every stage looks different, but at each stage there are resources that are available. We are a resource for you to help
Right.
you, guide you on that path, and to answer questions that you might have. So if you have children with differing ways of interacting, maybe you want to know about secure attachment, maybe you want to know about different learning styles. We looked at different learning styles and which is the best way for our children to learn. So there's a plethora of information that's available. And the Parent Plus Summit is going to give you even a greater list of resources.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited because no matter, I tried to think about this, and I think I'll ask my social media. I'll ask Facebook, Instagram, all of the all of the people. I don't think there is a single stone that is going to be left unturned.
Mhm.
Like we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about intentional discipline, we're talking about parenting with intention, special education, school success, faith-based homeschooling. I don't know that there's any area that is not covered within that, because we're talking about relationship, we're talking about academic success, but we're also talking about the social, emotional component of all of the things. So for the parent who is on the fence, reluctant, is thinking about taking a nap at noon on Saturday, what would you say, Kelly, to just encourage them to be in the room?
Yes. I would say make the investment. Like what we're going to be sharing, you're going to need throughout your parenting journey. And it doesn't matter where you are. Even if you're expecting or trying to get pregnant, now is the time to get the resources and begin to build that and to develop your own parenting story and your own parenting journey. So my parenting journey was an attachment to me understanding early childhood development, but becoming a parent, that was a whole different arena. I was degreed and I haven't been doing the work. And then I became a parent and it totally rocked my world because I was like, I do not know what I'm doing. And I need to rely on my community, my tribe, to help me figure it out. So I had a lot of support and I had all kinds of people saying, hey, here's something, a little tip to get you started. And I would take them as I needed them, but then I would craft it and make it my own. And I didn't know what it would look like at 16 and 14. But I know that all of those building blocks, webinars, people I talked to, resources I read, helped me to become the parent I am today and help my children to develop who they are as well. And I always laugh at things I discover. Like today, again, sitting in my office, there's a picture of us sitting on the altar at church. We staged a picture, and my youngest was 6 months old, and my oldest was, he probably was about two, right? And I was looking at that picture thinking, we are picture perfect. It looks wonderful. But to get to church and to get us looking like that, it was a whole journey that nobody knew. Like, well, my close friends knew, but Nobody knew what that looked like. And so those are the memories that you make when you invest in things like this, because we're going to need them. And the other thing I think we forget, we can be a resource to other people. There's parents that need to hear your story. There's parents that are going through what you've already conquered. And so you being able to share that in community is also a big plus.
Yeah, I love community. I mean, how often do we feel like maybe embarrassed or ashamed or reluctant to seek resources and to seek help because I'm the only one experiencing this. Like, I was thinking this about a month ago. I'm the only one who's experiencing a 3-year-old who's very verbal, very articulate, very expressive, and will not go to the restroom by himself consistently. Like, I am the only parent in the history of parents who is struggling with potty training, right? And I remember talking to a friend. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I love potty training age. It's such a like it's such a wonderful stage to see them grow and develop, and it's such a big milestone, and it really just transitions them from baby to big boy to big girl." And I remember talking to you, Kelly, about like, it is a part of the process. You're okay, and I just relaxed.
Right?
I just chilled out, and I'm thriving in parenting because I'm thriving in a parenting community. And so the
Yes.
people who come in, and I'll talk more about it, my Parent Plus community and what it looks like to get coaching and get resources and get all of the things. But just know that if you are a parent who feels like you're operating in autopilot or things are becoming really stressful and you're like, we're not even to the holidays yet.
Right.
It's
Right.
just the end of October, and I'm already feeling the way I'm feeling. If you've been
Yeah.
praying or looking for a resource or a community or a network or experts, professionals, people who are there, have been there, have done that, can guide you, can walk with you,
Yeah.
come to the summit. Like, there's going to be a lot in the room, and
Right.
also an opportunity for question and answering, and an opportunity to build really good connections and relationships. So before we go, Kelly, I would love because there's 7 of us we're going to be speaking. We all have we have our team talks, and this is just a sneak peek. But I would love for you to tell us maybe what you have going on and how to stay connected to you specifically, either before the summit or after the summit has taken place.
So one resource that I like to provide are practical tips and ways of doing things. So when we talk about intentional parenting, we provide at Developing People through our A to Z parenting community. It's a community dedicated to parenting from prenatally all the way to empty nest. And so one of the tools that we look at, so if you come to the Parent Plus Summit, one of the bonuses that we'll be giving is around home for the holidays. I like to frame it as home for the holidays because it's really getting through the holidays and keeping our sanity in place. But if we don't plan for that, then we just are dealt what we're dealt with. So that those are going to be, you're going to have access to my A to Z parenting community where we're really going to be delving into that and giving you some real tips. So you can find me on Facebook, Developing People Incorporated. And you can also search for the A to Z parenting community that is a part of our work. And when you search for it, we're going to be opening up our community for a small amount of time so that you can join it because it is a closed community to really support those members. So if you're connected to Developing People, you'll know when that happens, and so you want to be able to capitalize on that. And you can also find me on Instagram at Develop People.
Absolutely. Okay, I put that in the. Let me make sure that I pin it. I put that in the chat. So Developing People Incorporated on Facebook.
Yes.
All right. Let me make sure that's over here as well. I'm so excited, Kelly. I know I keep saying it. I don't know a better word, like ecstatic. I'm expecting. I love bringing people together and just squashing the myth that like parenting has to be a struggle bus.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember when I found out I was having a baby boy, and I was like, "Woo, okay, surprise, surprise! All right, God." And I remember saying, "Okay, like we can do this, God, and I want to remain Sandra. Like all
Yes.
the things that
Yeah.
make me me, being outgoing, being outside, loving to meet people, enjoying traveling, being ambitious. Like I don't want that to die with the birth of my son.
Right.
I want
Right.
to be me as a mom."
Yes.
And so for a lot of parents, I believe that the Parent Plus Summit is going to be a rediscovery of sorts.
Yes.
Like I don't have to put myself on the back burner in order for me to be a good parent and feel fulfilled in this
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That is.
Angie.
Yeah. That is so true because so at A to Z Parenting, we focus on the parent's purpose and the child's purpose, which go hand in hand, right? And so it's a parallel process as we are parenting. We ourselves are delving into some things that we're discovering about ourselves. If we are
Yes.
more, and we'll talk about this more on Saturday, but if we are more reserved, our kids may push us into arenas where we wouldn't go on our own because
Yes.
they're outgoing, right? Because of their personality. So we'll talk about that parallel process on Saturday. The other thing is that everything is a learning moment. And
Right.
so we're learning so much from our children, ourselves, and we also start unplugging our own childhoods and looking at differences, maybe in how we were brought up and what things
Yes.
we want to keep and what things we want to change. So it's a time of opportunity.
It's an absolute time of opportunity. And what a beautiful gift we can give our children, who I believe are gifts to us. What better gift to give them than for them to see their parents prioritizing themselves? Like,
Mhm.
mommy really loves herself. Like,
Yes.
dad really honors and values himself. And
Yeah.
I can see that the time they spend away from me,
Right.
enjoying life and developing and getting the skills and the understanding, having friends, having relationships. The world does not revolve around me, but
No.
it includes me. And I think that's a beautiful lesson. And sometimes we miss the opportunity to teach our children that I love you. You know,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love you undeniably. And I love
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
And I want you to learn to love you and learn other people. I'll
Right.
stop talking after this. But for those who know God, He says to love your neighbors as yourself. And oftentimes
That's it.
we skip over like love God and then love your neighbor as yourself. We think that means self-sacrifice and treat yourself poorly at the expense of making sure you love others. But in order for me to love others as myself,
I
I have
gotta
to
love
love
me. Yeah.
I have to love me. And so in order for you to give your child the very best of you, you have to access the best you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what we're going to talk about on Saturday. And every single speaker has the same message, which is like, you parents, this is for you. So many things for parents is all about the kids. No, this one is for you. And we know
For
that if we
you.
get through and to you, it will spill over into your child, your homes,
Yes.
into your families. All right, Kelly, any closing thoughts? You know, I could go on and talk to the parents, but I know 30 minutes. Anything else you want to say before we head out?
So the last thing I would say, if you came on this broadcast, it is meant for you to get in the room on Saturday. Make it a priority. What you make a priority is what will deliver in your life for
Yes.
yourself and for your children. So go ahead and pencil it in, even if you have to put your earbuds in, going to the grocery store or whatnot, get in the room and get all of the things that are available for you. And I'll see you there.
Yes, yes, yes. There's something special about being in the room, catching it live, getting your
Yes.
questions answered live, and just being in the room with the people. Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you guys for watching. Share this. And if you need the link to register for the summit, just comment summit or DM me summit, and I will get that to you. I will see you on Saturday.
All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.